You know, one really bad day at school can feel like the absolute end of the world. Well, for a little girl named Scout Finch, it was actually the beginning of her real education. In this explainer, we're going to break down one single, totally chaotic day in Maycomb, Alabama, to uncover some seriously powerful truths about respect, poverty, and what it really, truly means to understand another person.
So, this is the big question at the heart of Scout's very first day of school. I mean, everything she thought she knew about how the world works gets completely turned on its head, and it all starts with a fight out in the schoolyard.
Okay, so the day kicks off with Scout literally rubbing Walter Cunningham's nose in the dirt. In her 6-year-old black and white world, this is simple justice, right? He got her in trouble with the new teacher, but her older brother, Jem, he sees something way more complicated going on, and he steps in.
But here's the context Scout is missing, and it's a big deal. See, Walter isn't just some random kid. He's a Cunningham. His family is so poor he can't even afford lunch, and he's stuck in the first grade because every single spring he has to miss school to go help on the farm. He's not trying to cause trouble, he's just a boy caught in a really tough spot.
And this is where Jem shows a wisdom that's just way beyond his years. Instead of letting the fight get worse, he does something nobody expects. He invites Walter home for dinner. And with that one simple invitation, he chooses understanding over anger and just completely changes the entire vibe of the situation. All right, let's move from the schoolyard to the Finch's dinner table, because Scout's lessons for the day are far from over. And this time, the teacher isn't her dad or her brother, it's the family's cook, Calpurnia. So for Walter, having molasses syrup is this huge, rare treat. So what does he do? He pours it on everything. But to Scout, this is just bizarre. And she says so, right out loud, totally embarrassing their guest. You can just imagine how quiet it got at that table. And bam! That's when Calpurnia marches Scout straight into the kitchen for what might be one of the most powerful scoldings in all of literature. She just lays down the law, telling Scout that judging a guest's habits is the ultimate form of disrespect. And the key lesson here is Calpurnia's definition of company. It's not about your social status, it's not about whether you even like the person. The second they walk through your door, they are owed your respect. Full stop. It's this incredible lesson in pure, unconditional hospitality. Just when Scout thinks her day can't possibly get any weirder, it's back to school. And this time, an encounter reveals that there are layers to Maycomb's social structure she never even knew existed. And believe it or not, it all starts with a cootie. The teacher, Miss Caroline, is absolutely horrified when she sees a louse crawl out of the student's hair, and that student is Burris Ewell. Scout describes him as the filthiest human she had ever seen. He then just casually tells the teacher that, yep, he's done for the year, that Ewells only show up for the first day just to stay on the right side of the law. And this contrast just perfectly lays out the two faces of poverty in Maycomb. You've got the Cunninghams on one side. They're poor, sure, but they're also clean, they're proud, and people respect them. And then you have the Ewells. They're what everyone calls the disgrace of Maycomb. They're defiant, dirty, and they live by a whole different set of rules. This is Scout's first real lesson in social hierarchy, teaching her that it's not just about how much money you have. It's about this unwritten code of conduct that decides your place in this town's rigid and honestly pretty unjust social order. So, after all of this, the contradictions, the humiliation, Scout is just overwhelmed. She's had enough. She gets home and tells her father, Atticus, that she is never, ever, ever going back to school. And this moment right here, it leads to the most important conversation in the whole story. Scout is just completely baffled. I mean, she tried to be helpful, and she got in trouble for it. She saw people breaking rules that she's forced to follow. Nothing makes any sense. So, how are you supposed to get by in a world that's this confusing? And here it is. This is the key. Atticus gives her this profound tool for life. He doesn't just give her a rule to follow. He tells her it's not about judging what people do. It's about trying your best to understand the world from where they're standing. What Atticus is describing, of course, is empathy. And he uses that amazing metaphor to explain why her teacher, Miss Caroline, made so many mistakes that day. See, she's new to Maycomb. She doesn't get all its weird social codes. If Scout could just climb into her skin, she'd see an outsider who's just trying her best in a really confusing new place. But Scout, being Scout, has one last, very logical point. hey, if the law can bend for Burris Ewell, who gets to skip school, why can't it bend for her? Especially when school means she can't read with her father anymore? And you know what? It's a really fair question.
Atticus has to explain that society sometimes makes these unspoken exceptions for people like the Ewells. The whole community kind of looks the other way when Mr. Ewell hunts out of season because they know if they don't, his kids might actually starve. It's this grim, practical acceptance of a really broken situation. A sign that sometimes a community just quietly agrees to bend a rule to stop something even worse from happening. Now, since Scout isn't a special case, Atticus can't just bend the law for her. So instead, he offers her a different and way more powerful tool: compromise. He defines it not as breaking the rules, but as two sides giving a little to reach an agreement. It's a way to get by in an imperfect world without totally sacrificing your principles.
And here's the deal he strikes. Scout agrees to go back to school. That satisfies the law and her teacher. In return, Atticus agrees they'll secretly keep reading together every single night, which satisfies Scout's love of learning. It's a perfect workable solution that respects the rules, but also protects what's most important to them both.
So this one crazy, chaotic day gives Scout two incredibly powerful tools for life: empathy and compromise. But as we've seen, she is definitely not the only one in Maycomb who needs them. So the question I want to leave you with is this. When you look at everyone we met today, Walter, Calpurnia, Miss Caromine, Burris Ewell, who in this town needs that lesson in empathy the most?